Hello and welcome to Noobs in Progress. My name is Nathan, and here with me I have.
Ethan Murphy, Nathan made his friend.
Hello, Ethan. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good, my friend. I am
Yes.
good. I had for dinner. I had a a shortbread Red Baron pizza and a bag of minute rice, and it worked. I don't know how or why,
Wow.
but that carb combination works. I like it.
Yes. That's
Yeah,
that is a bachelor meal if I've ever heard one.
really is. It literally says on the package. It says bachelors. It doesn't even say what the food is. It just says bachelors.
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 What
How about you, my friend?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. Feeling pretty good today. Today was a pretty big day in the video gaming world. I'm
Ooh,
just gonna dive right into it because
dive.
I am ecstatic. The PlayStation 5 reveal occurred today,
Mm-hmm.
and the reveal happened back in June, but today was the here are some launch titles. Here's some more really central camera fly-throughs of the thing where they did computer animated fly-throughs of the console that made the console feel like it's like the Grand Canyon. um
Right.
or it was like
The
a
Grand Canyon meets Elon Musk.
yeah, exactly. In some ways it kind of was like a technology porn money shot. It was very weird.
Yeah, it
um
was. Yeah, it was.
but the big news is that they announced the release date and the price. And yeah, I'm excited. The disc version is going to be $500. The digital version is $400, and the release date is November 12th.
Yes.
So yes, I'm already trying to figure out how to save money.
Now, you said the warden said, "Congratulations, husband. Spend all the money you want on this right around the holidays, right before Thanksgiving."
Um,
I
not
mean, I'm
quite.
paraphrasing. Paraphrasing.
Paraphrasing. Not quite, but she basically was like, if you can figure out how to have the money and it doesn't affect our accounts, I'm okay with it. So that's
Huh.
kind of that's kind of the
Interesting.
spoken agreement at this point. But we'll
You
see.
realize that's like the opening for like most '80s movies. Like, here's your challenge. If
Yeah.
you can do this, Ferris Bueller, you're welcome to do it. However, if you fail,
If you
uh,
fail,
you'll be expelled
yes,
and your parents will disown you. All kinds of
yes,
that. So
life will be
nice.
over. Life will be
Life will be
over.
over. Well,
But I'm.
congrats. I think you and I get the same one. We both can get the
Mhm,
same, the digital version, because
mhm.
it's literally $100 cheaper. Our
Yeah.
alum, our fellow uh, Bent Theater improv comedy alum, James Bailey, he's been banging the drum saying he's gonna get the disc version because he still has some PS4 games and I think he has some Blu-rays and that kind of crap. And it's like, how about instead of buying the $500 version, you just keep your PS4, and if you need to, and if you are so desperate to play a PS4 game once you have a PS5,
Mhm.
just plug in the PS4.
Yeah, well, and also, did you see about the PlayStation collection, the PlayStation Plus collection?
No.
Oh man, this is huge. If you get a PS5 and you get PS Plus, or you already have PS Plus, there's something like 25 games, PS4 games that you get
Just you skip. You just
you
get
just get. God of War, Arkham Knight,
good. Good.
um, I think Horizon Zero Dawn,
Probably.
um, Resident Evil 7.
Nice.
Like
Nice.
yeah, like
Nice.
it's
They're,
basically
yeah,
it's
they're
base.
not they're not like garbage games. They're games
Oh
you
no.
actually like. Yeah,
Oh
they're
no,
actually
yeah.
good games.
Like they're the main releases from the like the major, like the only ones that,
Yes.
like, the missing ones are Ghost of Tsushima. I'm always going to say that wrong. Um Tsushima. It will like, it's not available now, but I have a strong feeling that this is going to be a living thing where it's going to like grow bigger. And I hope, one would hope. But
Of course. Why wouldn't one?
yeah, and I'm going to get digital because one of the things I realized, because one of the biggest arguments that I've heard against getting the digital only version is, well, then you can't return the games you've purchased.
Right.
But my thing is, like, and especially where I am in my life, I don't need to have a game day one. So I can wait for the digital to go on sale. And
Right.
frankly, by the time I wait for it to go on sale and I get it, I'm probably getting a price that might even be cheaper than if I had bought it full price and then returned it,
Sure.
to get, so it
Get
just,
whatever the refund rebate is. Yeah.
yeah. And I don't have to worry about, going outside of my house ever.
Well, that's
And
that's the thing.
yeah.
So all the games I purchased games during COVID. It's been like the past 6-7 months we've been in COVID.
Hmm. Hmm.
They've all been digital because like there is no GameStop I want to go to or like, open
Hmm.
or anything else. I've been fine with it, no problem.
Yeah.
So there's no reason. And I mean, I guess I get the idea that you're like, well, what if it's a bad game? That you want to return it, and get your money back? Well, you can take your time, check out some reviews. Reviews come out before the games are even released to the public, so you can do your homework, make sure you want to get the game, and
Yep.
hand it that way.
And
But since most people didn't probably tune into this to listen to us talk about
Yeah.
PS5 and PS
well,
in general,
I'll just throw one more thing, and I always forget to turn on my damn light. The one more thing I'll throw in, I'm sitting there looking, why am I so dark? But one other thing I'll throw out is I think that Sony has a return policy. So like within like 24 hours you can return the game. I think. I could be wrong. If they don't, they should.
don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe
They probably don't make it easy, but But anyway, yes.
No, nothing like.
So you bring up a very good point about why people actually are probably watching this, and that is to hear us talk about, or listening, to hear us talk about Better Call Saul, which is the show that we watched this week. So
We did.
yes.
Now, Nate,
Yes.
you are obviously, to fill people in, you have seen Breaking Bad, start
Yes.
to finish, right? Okay.
Hmm.
And you were a fan of that.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes. Very much so.
Okay, so you weren't like upset that we were going to watch Better Call Saul. You were looking forward to this, and
Oh yeah.
yeah.
And I do have a little bit of a confession. Something happens when you become a parent, and that means that your memory goes to shit.
Yes.
I got about 15 minutes into the first episode of Better Call Saul when I realized I had already seen the first episode of Better Call Saul. So
Perfect.
I figured.
I love it. I love it.
So I watched it. And apparently I watched it. I think I probably watched it when it first came out because I think they were doing that thing. Because wasn't it still on AMC at that point?
Yeah, it's still on AMC now.
Yeah. So they were doing that thing where they were like, we'll give you the first episode free on Hulu or Prime or wherever it was. And then the rest you'll have to, like sign up for the super duper version to get it on a weekly basis. And
Wait, on AMC? AMC is part of the cable.
yeah, I know, but I mean like they were doing that enticement thing where they only like release the first on streaming because I don't do cable. I don't do cable.
Oh, you don't have cable? Okay.
Yeah, we're cord cutters.
Okay.
Yeah, and we have been for about 7 years now. Yeah, we've
Right.
said bye to cable a long time ago.
Yeah.
So I think they were doing that thing where they were like, you can watch the first episode for free, but then you have to pay if you want to see the rest of them.
Yeah.
For like whatever service it was. And so I watched the first episode, and I remember loving it. Once like I got into like 15 minutes and I was like, oh, that's right. And then this happens. And then Tuco shows up. And then, oh my God, I've seen this. So to make up for it, I watched episode 2 and 3. So
Okay.
I caught up to 2 and 3. So that way I'm pretty much up to the point of the kettle bombs or the kettle bums or whatever the hell their names are. Where he finds them in the woods and he finds that they're there. They rip open the bag of cash. That's the last
Right.
bit. And I had not honestly seen episode 2 or 3. So I am a noob with those and the continuing
No,
story.
that's great. And as I said before we started recording, I hadn't seen this since it originally aired. So I went back and rewatched the pilot episode, kind of refreshed my brain. But I only rewatched the pilot episode. But I remembered as soon as I saw the kettle bombs, I was like, oh yeah, I saw them sitting there at the diner. I was like, oh yeah, I remember these guys are dirty as hell. They seem squeaky clean, but they're dirty as hell. And of course, when those twins try to put that scam on Jimmy, I was like, oh yeah, these guys Jimmy, of course, recruits them to help him with another scam and other stuff. So I remember these things. And of course, as soon as a gun came out, I was like, oh yeah, that's Tuco. So I remembered all these things very clearly once I started watching again, like same as you did. But I had to, of course, refresh my brain. So we're more or less in the same boat as far as it was still new-ish to us, even though
Yeah.
it typically wasn't new to either one of us.
Mhm.
So the show, this episode is called Noobish in Progress.
New Bish in progress. Oh my
But
goodness,
close
that's very close to Nebbish. I remember, but anyway,
if the shoe fits, if the shoe fits.
if yes, it does. Well, one of the things I was really it hit me as I was watching the episodes. It was like watching Breaking Bad. Like it to me, it felt very like the situations and the way the writing obviously was still amazing. They kept Saul really, or Jimmy, they kept him really consistent. Like it, I was worried that they were going to have him be like completely different in this show and like try to show an evolution where it's like, no, you can see Saul in there. Like Saul is in there. Oh yeah, Saul is in there.
Yes.
And that just really impressed me. I was really impressed with how much like Breaking Bad it was.
Well, part of it is too is because I remember them actually showing even further back in his story, and I think it's later on in this season or season 2 or so. It actually does show flashbacks even further back before he became a lawyer, and as far as what kind of led him to becoming a lawyer. So that kind of does show even more dirty, skivvy type of stuff. But yeah, it's a great. I was admiring the pilot, having worked in some writers' rooms and done some stuff and worked on pilots out here in LA and stuff. It's like, that's a very, very well made pilot because it had to do two things. It had to be a good show in and of itself, but it had to be, like you said, faithful to the show that it came before, even though it's a prequel. That makes sense. So it did it juggled all those balls and spun all those plates really, really well.
Yeah. I really enjoyed the very subtle, like that was one thing I really liked about the shows that I saw. Now again, since I did watch the first 3, I saw a few more nods than I think than you did in just watching the first recently anyway. But I liked having Mike as the as the parking attendant, having Tuco involved. Excuse me, just having those like little things here and there, just sprinkled in, and what I really liked about them was you could tell that they weren't like in your face. They weren't like see, Mike's the parking attendant. It was nothing like that. It was very just like oh Ermintrout's the thing. Cool.
He's in this world. He's still in this world.
Yeah. So it was very, so for somebody who hadn't seen Breaking Bad, it wouldn't have been like, oh, that's obviously a reference that I don't get because I'm out of the loop. And I really like it when shows do that, where they just sprinkle a couple of things in. They don't make it too obvious. But for the fans, it's like, oh, this is fantastic.
That's
I really
fun.
like that kind of stuff.
Well, and that's the beauty of a well-written show or a movie or what have you. Say if it's a movie and it's a sequel, and there's so many Easter eggs that kind of wink at the camera. It's like, okay, this is distracting. What do you care? And also people who, if you can tell that they're winking at the camera, but you don't know what they're winking about, it's frustrating. Kind of like you feel kind of left out. But a well done show, if it doesn't wink at the camera, however the references are there, is satisfying to those who have been around before and know what they're referring to. But it doesn't make anyone else feel left out. So this show, like you said, did a really good job making everyone feel welcome to it. If this was the first thing you watched, didn't watch Breaking Bad at all, you're fine. Because even within context, at the beginning, when you see in the present day, I guess, or this, so at the very beginning, when it's in black and white, is post Breaking Bad. When he's basically put himself in witness protection program for himself, by himself, more or less.
Yeah.
That part, even if you haven't seen Breaking Bad, there's a part where there's no dialogue. You see him looking kind of like with a mustache, looking around, and you see that big guy as he's watching him. He's like, and you get the feeling that he, of course, is paranoid or worried about someone seeing him, with no context at all. You still understand that. Unless you're brain dead, you'll understand the process. He's afraid of being seen by somebody and whatnot. And then, of course, if you aren't entirely sure of that, when it does cut to the current time frame that the story will take place in, you see that he looks different. So you can kind of put 2 and 2 together and realize, okay, this is meant to be
Yeah.
showing the story of how he got to where he is, or something like along those lines.
Hmm. And I have to, and I really have to point out the scene you mentioned where it's um he sees that guy, and there's like, and in the shot is done in a way that it looks like the guy's looking at him, and the dude looks like he's giving him the
Yeah,
stare, like the I know you, like,
yeah,
or you're my target kind of
yes.
look.
That's yeah.
Yeah.
I've come here to kill you.
Yeah, and it's one of those shots that like you could tell, like, oh geez, they really amped the tension in just a couple shots. And I have to give what's his name, the guy that
Bob
plays the
Odenkirk.
well, yeah, Odenkirk. I have to give him a ton of credit because his
Yeah,
acting in that scene, and really in like everything I've seen so far of the show, has been phenomenal. Like the just the like you can see the fear in his eyes, like the like,
yes.
oh God, I'm gonna die. It's just amazing.
But also, he's able to play it subtly, like in that scene with the hitman. Well,
Hmm.
it's not even a hitman; it's actually
Yeah,
just a regular guy going to see his friend or wife or whatever she
yeah.
was. You can see that it's palpable the way he just looks
Hmm.
like. In real life, you wouldn't like be all bug-eyed or have a flop sweat. It's like you be like when you're really nervous or anxious, you almost
Hmm.
almost seem still, that you're trying to
Yeah.
figure out what to do. And he played it so extremely well,
Hmm.
even to show the sign of relief when the guy went, which is very subtle also.
Yeah.
And it just shows, just even again, we're never seeing the same scene, but later on when he's at his home and he's just
Hmm.
getting the liquor and he kind of misses a glass a little bit, then he sits down.
Yeah.
It just shows that he's a person who is depressed. Like real depression doesn't look like all mopey and it's like you just feel
Hmm.
real true depression is kind of subtle. It's just I'm
Yeah.
not happy, but this is my life. It's reality kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he did it perfectly.
Yeah. And one of the things I liked in the scene at home by himself was as he's watching the Better Call Saul tape, and you can just see the emotion in his face. Like you can just see like how upset he is, and how he like that's what he wants. He wants to go back to that, but he knows he
Of
can't.
course.
He
No.
knows that, like,
No.
he's dead. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just oh geez, it was a really good opening scene. And really, and that whole first episode is just fantastic in so many ways. Like I just really liked how they handled um just how they handled the story. It was just really, really
Yeah.
good.
Well, another thing too, like you said, that first episode was just how it does show. It's mainly a day in the life of.
Hmm.
Um, but it does a really good job of kind of not amping the stakes or raising the stakes, but kind of like kicking them into the dirt more and more with each
Hmm.
passing moment. With each passing
Hmm.
scene, does it get worse and worse and worse and
Uh-huh.
worse and worse to the very end when he has a gun pointed in his face. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
I can believe it because this guy's life is so shitty all around. Why wouldn't he have a gun pointed in his face?
Hmm.
He'd be doing him a favor if he killed him almost. So
Yeah.
it's a cool way that we've discussed it before in storytelling, how there's two ways to endear the audience to a character. It's either by having him save the cat, like Superman or a hero does, where they save somebody, like, okay, this is a great hero, I champion them, or
Hmm.
kicking the dog. And Vince
Uh-huh.
Gilligan clearly likes to kick the dog. He did it with Walter White, having him in his underoos in the first episode, and they're doing it
Oh
now
yeah.
with Jimmy McGill by having everything go wrong for him. From by
Hmm.
the fact that he has to defend three necrophiliacs essentially in the
Yeah.
beginning. I was
Oh
like,
God, that
what in
scene
the
is so
world
bad.
is this?
Oh
What is?
God.
I love that. See how Jimmy gives up there, gives this wonderful, not wonderful, gives this impassioned speech
Yeah.
for a closing argument essentially, and then of course the brother Dave, as his name was, literally all he does gets up with that vacuum tube TV because it's period appropriate,
Yep.
puts it there in front of them, puts the VHS in, hits play, and that's it. And also, there's no dialogue from anyone in that courtroom. Only one that
Yeah.
talks is Jimmy McGill, almost just to
Yeah.
emphasize how alone he is in the world.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love it.
I really liked how they did with Jimmy, how they made it where he's really good at talking himself out of trouble, and
Yeah,
even and it's almost like he, and I'll be interested to see how the show evolves, and if they kind of use this, because it happens in the second episode, so I am gonna jump a little bit into the second episode a little bit.
Sure.
There's the so he gets the gun in his face at the end of the episode, and then the beginning of the next episode you find out it's the drug dealer Tuco. You don't know it's Tuco, the audience. If you've seen Breaking Bad, you know who he is. And Tuco is batshit insane. Like he's just a complete, like you have no idea which direction he's gonna go. He's just bananas.
Right. He's kind of guy that snorts cocaine to calm down, kind of thing.
Oh yeah. He's one of those guys because he just and I loved that character because I loved how he was never a known quantity. You never knew which direction he was gonna go, and like there's a part in the scene where Tuco due to various things, too long to explain, but due to various things that Jimmy and his two literally fall guys are tied up in the desert with Tuco and Tuco's couple of members of Tuco's gang, and during the back and forth, one of his gang members makes a comment, just an offhanded comment, like, and it wasn't even like he wasn't contradicting Tuco or nothing. And he walks up to him and that's another little thing where it was used to show, because Tuco walks up to him and you think Tuco's going to kill him. Like, you're just like, Tuco might just take this guy out. and I think, and I could be wrong, so forgive me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that there's a similar scene in Breaking Bad where he does kill the guy. But I could be wrong.
What happens in this scene? I can't remember.
This is the scene where they're out in the desert and Tuco still has no idea who these people are, so they're trying to find out who they are, and this is when Nacho gets involved. And Nacho.
Oh no! But what does Tuco do to the guy that?
Oh, he just goes up to him. He just goes up to him and just says just makes a comment to him. But there's like a split second where you think Tuco's gonna blow his fucking head off. Like, it's just, and it's
it would have been plausible with that character. It would have been 100% fair. It's like, oh yeah, I can buy it. I can buy it.
Yeah, and like you could tell that they did that and on purpose. And what happens is Jimmy successfully talks himself out of getting killed or even hurt, and they were going to take him back, and then they were going to go kill the two fall guys because the two fall guys called Tuco's grandma a biznatch, and Jimmy talks them out of killing them and talks them down to breaking their legs, and it's funny because the two fall guys are like pissed off at Jimmy, and Jimmy's like, I just talked a death sentence down to 6 months parole. I'm an awesome lawyer. You know?
Yeah. You guys are idiots, by the way. You deserve this. You go around all day doing this. Now you have it for real. Your sentence is irony, essentially.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well,
I remember that.
And that's the funny thing about those characters in particular, and it is how just fucking dumb they are, because. Yeah. There was a scene prior to that they're still at the house. Tuco, like, Jimmy successfully talks Tuco into letting them all go. And Jimmy takes off the tape from one of the fall guys' face and he starts saying, it was his idea. He wanted us to go after your grandma. And it's like, dude, you were about to be let go. Like, what are you?
Idiots. Idiots.
So yeah.
Anyway. So I mean, obviously, I haven't seen the episode.
Yeah, sorry. I'm diving into further.
No, that's all right. but just the idea of going there with how stupid they are. The introduction of this character. We talked about this before and several times in this show. How important introductions are with characters. Mm-hmm. Their introduction is like as Jimmy said. You guys are trying to con someone with a car that looks like it's worth less than your skateboard, basically. Yeah. What are you? You're an idiot. You're absolutely idiots. Yeah. And also the idea too is I just watched it. The guy who was supposedly got a broken leg sits up calmly and says, "How about $500?" It's like, if there's any idiot out there that would have believed your story by you being that calm with a broken leg asking for $500, you just completely shattered your fourth wall.
Oh yeah.
So they're not. They did a good job of saying, hey, audience. Don't worry. If you think Jimmy now has some cronies that are on the same level as him, you're wrong. This is not Aaron and Walt in their prime. This is Mutt and Jeff on heroin.
Yeah, it's interesting to me because it shows how, like, it's one of those things where you see a side of Jimmy in that scene that up to that point in the show, in the episode, you haven't seen, which
Right.
is like up to that point when he's dealing with normal society, he is the underdog. Like, not even the underdog.
Constantly,
Yeah,
constantly.
he is the,
Or getting
like,
kicked. The
yeah,
kick
he
dog.
is
Yeah.
getting, yeah, the dog is getting kicked and he's the dog. But once you put him into petty theft and that sort of thing,
Right. Right.
he, like, and even among other criminals who technically would be above him, like Tuco and Nacho and these other guys, like, there's this like level of comfort, and even when he's like worried for his life, there's just something about the way his character shifts, and the like, he just becomes almost in control in a weird way where he can talk
Right.
himself out of anything.
Exactly what it is. It's in
Yeah.
control. That's his arena. He's a con
Yeah.
man. So the idea of trying to con a con man ain't gonna work. Or
Yeah.
giving him an opportunity to con somebody else, oftentimes it'll work.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, I feel like also on some level in that opening scene in the courtroom, there was probably a part of the some of those jurors that made it, well, I can see where it's going on. Okay, fair enough. The problem was, and the beauty of the way it was, the way the scene was, we didn't know what those three guys were on trial for. As far as we knew, they could have just broken into some placements, some vandals that broke some glass. It seemed seemingly simple enough. The insurmountable wall that Jimmy had to climb was that these guys were necrophiliacs that literally cut the head off a body and were having. It's like, who could win that case?
Yeah.
And then of course it's literally on footage. You see, it's like, this is horrible. It's over. There's no one can win that. No one can win that. But like you said, give him a chance. Give him not even a fair chance, but just give him a chance, and he'll find a way to do his thing. And that's the whole point. I feel like that's the character, Jimmy McGill, aka Better Call Saul, is that he can take lemon seeds and somehow make lemonade.
Yeah. Well, and what I find interesting is they even show how he tries to, like, through that court scene, and then also through the scene where he goes to his brother's old law firm to confront the big guy there.
The partners.
And the partners. And you can see, like, and it's the same thing as in the courtroom where it's a facade. He's trying to use what works in the underworld, essentially.
Right.
To apply it to normal life, and normal life is looking at him like, what, like these people are looking at him like, are you insane? Like, what is wrong with you?
Right.
You know.
Right.
And he's going like, I'm not the weird one, you are. You know. And it's so obvious. It's so obvious and like emasculating almost for him. Like the fact that, like,
clearly emasculating.
Yeah, like and the fact, like, when he, when he's done and he goes down in the elevator and then he kicks the shit out of that trash can, like,
which is perfectly planted. How we see that trash can first when he walks in there with a dent in it. You're like, what's that dent for? And he comes back,
yeah. And I think it almost shows the fact that the dent was there. It almost shows like, oh, this isn't his first trip here.
No, it's clearly every single time he comes there. And I, like you said, the idea too is that Jimmy is essentially a big fish in a dirty pond, but you put him in a clean pond, he doesn't work. Like you said, his tricks don't work.
Yeah,
dirty mud skipper tricks don't work in a high polished veneered chlorine pool. So all these lawyers are like, the lawyers quickly shut him down, no contest. Then he goes to his brother, another lawyer, and he's like, and he tries to talk to the same thing to Michael McKean. He's like, and he says he shuts him down again too. So it's like, I can't. Jimmy's in a place where he's too smart for the criminal world, but not quite good enough for the like you said, the decent world, the upper echelon world, essentially. He's stuck in the middle.
Yeah, and it's interesting because like with his brother and his brother and he are a very interesting dichotomy, and I'm going to be watching the rest of this.
You had no
series.
choice.
Like,
you don't have a choice.
Yeah, it's I've gone over the hill on the roller coaster and I'm just going now. But the dichotomy between the two of them and the fact that, like, Michael McKean's character, Chuck, I think, is the brother's name. Yeah. So you've got Chuck and Jimmy, and Chuck is the successful lawyer. Like hell, like that, like he was a partner in obviously a multi-million-dollar law firm.
Right.
And and he has something going on, which I'm 3 episodes in and I don't even fully know. Like, obviously he's a little crazy because he has something going on with electromagnetism or something.
Right.
Not really. He thinks he does. Um,
Yeah.
he's not Magneto or anything.
Or so you don't think, or so
Yeah,
you
or
don't think.
yeah, hey, that could be the big season 2 reveal. But the Breaking Bad X-Men crossover,
Why does this not exist? The Breaking Bad X-Men crossover event that no one could see coming.
I would say Michael McKean as a parody Magneto, parodying Ian McKellen's Magneto, would be amazing. That would just be amazing.
I can 100% see. There's no reality in which he couldn't pull that off. No reality.
Oh yeah, that's just amazing. But I really like the dichotomy between those two characters because you've got one who can't operate in society but can go into it, and another who operates wonderfully in society but can't go into society. Yeah, like
exactly.
He
That's a good point.
Yeah,
that's a good point. I hadn't I hadn't thought of that before, but it's a perfect point. Yeah, because I like the idea of Jimmy McGill. He's the ambassador for someone who almost doesn't want him to be an ambassador, for one thing.
Yeah,
and also it's an ambassador that nobody wants around. It's a weird situation, and again, like the idea too is like he's Jimmy's life is so shitty that you see his office in his home. It's like in the back of a. It was like
it was like a nail salon or something.
Mani Petty place.
Yeah.
It's in the not just in the back of it. It's in the off. It's like in the one of the closets of the laundry room of that place is where his office and home basically is. And so he's not even good enough to have his own like side office in a place or shitty office. It's literally the shitty closet of some place. And then you see his brother's house, this mansion that he's in. So all the lights turn off because he has his electromagnetic problem or situation. And there's so many cans but no can openers or combs with no teeth. It's just a lot of just. He's so close but so far in so many ways.
Yeah.
And of course, my favorite thing, of course, is the car. That yellow car. Yeah. His car is.
Oh yeah.
Fantastic.
I love and this is true both in Breaking Bad and in Better Call Saul. The car kind of becomes almost like a character of its own.
100%.
Like
it is.
Yeah,
it is.
because like Walter White had that like ugly ass Aztec, that green Aztec. Oof. In fact, I don't even I should have researched this, but apparently it didn't come in that color, but they wanted it to be that color, so they had to, or maybe they didn't make it in that color anymore, so they had to like repaint it. But that ugly ass Aztec, and the fact that I remember it's an ugly ass Aztec,
it's iconic.
Yeah,
it's iconic.
It's like think of another show. Like what car did Dexter drive?
I don't even know if he drove a car. Yeah, I have absolutely no clue.
Yeah, I remember seeing him do it, but I don't remember what car it was. Same thing with like Michael Weston and actually no, I do remember that one because it was a Ford Mustang.
That's the whole point of it. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but with this, like it was, why the hell, they make it a character thing, but it sticks with you, and it also gives you an idea of what kind of character you're dealing with.
100%.
And it's so interesting when you look at it from a world building standpoint, because just with one little decision of giving Walter White an ugly ass green Aztec and giving Saul Goodman a Dodge Dart or whatever the hell it was.
No, you know what's called? That's the best part. It's called the Esteem. There's a part where it's getting ready to take off, and you see the exact brand. It's like it says Esteem. It's like that could have been more.
Yes,
more fitting.
He has none.
None. or it's bruised and battered or whatever.
Oh yeah, but that's right there. Like even not knowing the name of the car, the fact of the type of car it was communicates so much about this character.
100%. Yeah.
And then if you happen to catch that that, you know, it's even more like it's just even a layers upon layers. And I love it when writers and world, like when somebody's creating a world like that and they use little things like that to really flesh out the world and the characters in such a way, and it's so simple and so easy to do, and I love
Yeah,
it.
I love it too. It's a you mentioned the world building and things of that nature, and it does do a really good job of the world building because, for example, it shows the single brightest place, the HHM, Hamlin and McGill, the
Mhm.
law firm that Jimmy goes to, by far is the most well lit, brightest, illuminated place. On the tables
Mhm.
when he goes in there, they look like halos. The lights look like halos. It's almost like it's
Mhm.
heaven. It's meant to
Yeah.
seem like this is the glorious, most glorious place there possibly could be. And
Mhm.
then you see Jimmy's place. His actual office has red tint, red light. It almost looks like he's in hell. He's in the basement
Uh-huh.
of hell. And it's
Yeah.
little things. I mean, I'm not saying that they deliberately did that, but it's such a
Oh.
there's definitely some symbolism there.
Oh yeah. I'm sure like they may not have been going for the heaven and hell thing, but I do
Sure.
think that they were going for that, like this place is bright and vibrant and idyllic,
Yeah.
and Jimmy's is the opposite of that.
Complete
Um
polar opposite. Yeah.
and I like one of the things I like they did, and this is not so much in the world building, but in the character choices that Jimmy makes through, particularly in the first episode. This is very true in the first episode, is that almost every decision Jimmy makes in the first episode backfires.
Yeah.
And it, you know, it's interesting to me because like the one I'll the two I'll highlight is the check from Hamlin and McGill, where, you know, he gets into his office, he's going through his mail, and he sees this like it's the only piece of mail that doesn't say past due,
Has to.
and he opens it up, and it's a check from this law firm. Now at this point, as an audience, you don't really know why, but it's for $26,000. Okay.
Right.
And so he immediately goes to the law firm and essentially shows them the ripped up check. Or actually, I think he
Well, yeah,
rips up the check.
yeah. He
Yeah.
immediately rips it up. So
Yeah.
your first thing, you're like, oh my gosh, it's your payday, buddy. And his
Mhm.
reaction is complete opposite what you thought it would be. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's almost like I remember I remember thinking this the first time I saw it, and I thought it again until, because I had forgotten, because, you know, I remembered I'd seen it, but I'd forgotten the reason. I was holding out hope that maybe this was like an evil, like, you know, like this was a payout that if he accepted it, it would be compromising his ethics and morals. No, it's just he was just looking for a bigger payday.
A bigger
And
payout.
yeah, and the funny thing is that if he had just taken that check, he probably would have been cut in on a portion of it, and more checks were to come. But because
Probably.
he did that, the one of the Hamlins, went around him and went straight to his brother and started sending the checks directly to his brother. So now he can't even get
Exactly.
cut into it anymore.
Right.
So it's just
Yes.
like, and then the other decision was getting the kids to be his fall guy, and them going and end up, you know, jumping in front of the wrong car, and shenanigans ensue.
Right.
But
And it's one
yeah.
of those things where you say you want to say, well, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, but Jimmy's intentions aren't necessarily good either.
Yeah.
They're desperate. The
Yeah.
road to hell is paved with desperate intentions, and I
Mhm.
get there. I get that entirely. I've been there, my friend. I can, woo, buddy. When you're really, really, really desperate for any kind of a bone to get thrown your way,
Mhm.
I get it. But no matter how bad things are, they can always get worse.
Oh
They
yeah.
really, really can. So
Oh yeah.
sometimes it's a matter of just being able to like say, I need to cut my losses, reassess, and
Mhm.
figure out how to kind of move forward, how to pivot. And speaking of
Yeah.
pivot, we of course do have to get into the almighty post 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 post
Poist.
coital the post coit.
Poistcodal.
Point, point. Ah, my good friend. All right. So some of these you've already more or less have answered, but I'm going to ask them anyways because you're still here and you're still handsome. So,
Okay.
officially, number one, did it live up to your expectations or did it fall short?
Oh, it lived up to my expectations totally. It was, in fact, it It went beyond them. I
Okay,
expected it. I'd hoped it would be half as good as Breaking Bad, and in my opinion, it's almost as good or as good as Breaking Bad. So
right.
yeah.
And that's an extremely high bar to set. And
Hmm.
also, it's to do with a different character. It's not you're not using
Yeah.
Walt and Jesse. You're using Saul,
Hmm.
and it's not he's not
Hmm.
even Saul really. He's an earlier version of Saul. So yes, it's a very high bar to set. Um, did you see what you're hoping to see?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I was hoping to see a good show that had good writing, and boy, did I see that. And I'm going to see a whole lot more of it whenever I can find the time.
So that's also another question. Oh no, but in that case, you won't see any more of it. But I guess that's another question too. Is if for the postcoital on a TV show, as opposed to a
Hmm.
movie, you'd ask, do you intend to keep watching it after
Hmm.
having seen the pilot? Do you think you want to watch it? And you said yes, you actually want to watch more. You're gonna try
Oh
to watch
yeah,
more.
yeah. I
So
will
yeah,
definitely be. Yeah.
that's a very high endorsement there. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
all right. Now, what were you afraid you were going to see, my dear friend?
I was afraid. I honestly can't remember how I. Wait, I really should take notes on how I respond.
Or I should. Since I'm asking the questions, it'd be prudent for me to do it.
it's it's not like we have a recording of this that we could go back to and listen to. Um,
it's like we do this every week.
yeah, I think I was afraid that they were going to try and well, I was afraid they were going to try to go in a different direction,
Mhm.
like a really different direction than Breaking Bad, and take it too far. Um,
Mhm.
almost like doing a half an hour comedy, kind of thing.
Oof.
Um,
Because
you know,
it's just because he was more or less a comic relief, and if you just have the
yeah,
comic relief, right? I got you.
yeah, yeah. And I was afraid that they were going to do that, and they didn't. So I think,
No, they did not.
yeah, I think they knew they played to their strengths, and I hope they continue to do so through the rest of the series.
Yes. We will have to do another kind of another. We'll reconvene on this show later on down the road. It may
Yes,
be
yes.
once you finish the first season. We have a
Hmm.
first season recap. It may be given your schedule. It may be just once you finish the fourth episode because that might take 2 or 3 years in episode.
Yeah, yeah.
But we'll
We're
we'll,
on
we'll
that.
figure something out. We'll figure something out. Now this one I already know the answer to, but I'm still gonna ask it. Do you wish you had seen it sooner? Um, or are you glad that you hadn't? Now, this is a weird question because technically you did see it, but
Hmm.
you hadn't revisited the show. So
Hmm.
think of it in terms of like, do you wish you kind of had watched the show on Netflix earlier?
Hmm. Um, I yeah, this is a hard question to answer because I would have enjoyed it had I watched it when it first came out. Um, but I but now I get an entire how many seasons? There's 4 seasons and there's
Four,
a fifth coming or something. So
probably.
I have a ton of content that I know I'm gonna love and in front of me now. So
Yeah.
yeah, it would have been fun to catch it earlier, but I think it's probably good that it was until now because now I'm actually probably able to consume it within some relatively close amount of time, as opposed to
Yeah.
before when I would not have been able to. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
That's a good point. The
yeah,
idea of the binge, because you have the ability to binge it now, or you
hmm,
have the access to it on Netflix, where you can
yeah,
control it entirely.
yeah,
It's probably better for you to watch it this way because before,
yeah,
if you started watching it in real time on cable or whatnot, even though you didn't have it, but if you try watching it there, if you miss an episode because of the kids or something here or there, and you try to come back to it, or you had to leave the room to help, it'll be a mess. So yeah, that makes sense.
yeah.
That makes perfect
Hmm.
sense. Okay, all right. Um, do you like this show?
Yes, a lot. When I said that it was like watching another episode of Breaking Bad, like I'm not kidding. Like it really felt like I was watching like just a they decided like, oh, we're gonna take some time away from Walter and Jesse and spend some time on Saul's backstory is the kind of
Right.
what it felt like,
Yeah.
and another thing that I actually there's a suspicion, I could be wrong, but I know personally I may end up liking this show more
Now, why is that?
because, and I could be wrong,
Sure.
but I don't think this show is going to be as dark as Breaking Bad was. And because the whole time that Breaking Bad was happening, you always knew in the back of your mind that Walter White's probably going to die. His family's going to get broken up. Like this is Jaws is going to go, like shit's going to go sideways. Probably like I would imagine Hank's probably going to get it. And Jesse might die as well. Like I,
like he was literally supposed to die in the second episode originally. So that's how.
Oh yeah. And the fact is, it's that whole time it's like you have that specter of that going to happen in the future. And with this, like, yeah, that, like, you kind of know the end, like, he's going to be stuck in a Cinnabon, so a little bit of the intervening story, but at the same time, the end of this is going to be him sitting in an office making a shitload of money off petty criminals, and Walter White and Jesse walk into his life, and that's a slightly brighter ending to look forward to.
Agreed. The idea that it will end with Jesse, most likely with Jesse and Walt walking in the door.
Mm-hmm.
Now you know how that ends. Sure, that's dark, but still at the same time, when this show ends, it ends where you get to see, the reunion of these three cast members.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point. It's a very different place. It's with Walt also. It started with him having cancer. It's called Breaking Bad because it's a descent for him into being a literal drug lord.
Yeah.
This is a show with a underdog more or less rising to some power that we're watching. Yeah. They're almost like they're opposite. They're going in opposite directions. The shows are. Mm-hmm. So that makes perfect sense. It is, and also it's you're also it is a still different. It still is a different show because the similarity is that you're watching a person embrace themselves or figure themselves out and figure out where their place is in society, and if society turns their back on them, what they do in response. Mm-hmm. But Jimmy's case, he is a lawyer. He's a legit lawyer. He's trying to do things by the book. Sometimes he has to bend the rules, sometimes he has to break them, but the idea is still he wants to just be a good lawyer. Walt, best case scenario, was being a criminal. Either a low-level criminal or a high-level criminal. He was still a criminal. Yeah. So, it makes perfect sense as far as it feels more upbeat, more uplifting watching Jimmy.
Yeah, like just from watching the first 3 episodes, like I definitely could rewatch Breaking Bad. In fact, I'm probably going to, for a show that that it may be in development. I don't know, for a podcast, but there's probably a very good chance that I'm going to rewatch Breaking Bad at some point again in the future. But it's going to be because I'm in the right mood to watch it, or I'm going to be doing it for something where I could totally see myself, like if after I get through the entire series, at least based on these first couple episodes, which I admit is a very small sampling, but I could see myself sitting down and watching at the very least these 3 episodes, again, just for shits and giggles, because the writing is good. There's some laughs at it. There's some dramatic moments, but there's, but it's an interesting show and the acting is fantastic and everything. Where with Breaking Bad, all of those things are true, but there's also this pallor of, cancer, drug lords, criminals, death, murder, gruesomeness, and it's like in this, it's like,
Christmas.
Yeah.
That's the worst part. It's Christmas.
Yeah, Christmas. But with Better Call Saul, there's just this thing of like he's just trying to make it, he's just trying to, and the fact that, and this is true, and I know these are in the later episodes, but that I watched, but like there's some real conflict in him on a couple of the episodes where he's like, got to do the right thing, but if I do, I'm gonna die. Oh God, and he goes back and forth, and,
right.
But it's done in a really great way, and really interesting way, and it's in a way that I've never really seen before, so I think it's a great show.
Yes, I completely agree. That's why I'm very curious to see what you think of the show as it goes on, because it's the biggest thing. And this is not a spoiler, the biggest thing about this show that stands out for me is that Jimmy McGill does have a conscience. He constantly has a conscience, and what happens because he has a conscience.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to Breaking Bad, Walter White, you just constantly see him growing more and more callous towards his conscience, growing more and more sociopathic and manipulative and megalomaniacal, and just like, oh, he really is the one who knocks. He's not the victim here at all.
Yeah, it's you know, and I know this is just another way to say what we've been saying, but you're with Breaking Bad, you're watching the death of a good man.
Yes.
Over 7 seasons, where with Better Call Saul, you're watching a lost person find themselves and also do so with a little bit of a conscience. And that was true in Breaking Bad. Like, that was part of the reason I think everybody really liked Saul in those, because number one, he was the shining comic relief of the show.
Yeah, that's what he needed.
Yeah. But he also, like, he showed almost immediately that he had a conscience. Like, the fact that he endears himself to the audience is because he's willing to stick his neck out for Jesse and Walt. And so it's interesting. It's interesting to me to see the birth of that, essentially.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. No, absolutely. Very good, sir. Very, very good. Well, that was fun. That was a
yes.
Yeah, it's cool how the show Saul, kind of got our spirits up, picked us up. So because it's it's from the world of Vince Gilligan. His stuff isn't always the most uplifting.
Yeah, not the most uplifting. And I gotta say, I like Ehrmantraut. Holy God,
he's great.
Oh, he is wonderful. Like, that actor, he is so interesting. Like, his I'll admit he's a little one note. There's only certain type of characters he can play, but for the most part, he just, he's just a great character. And I really liked seeing him on screen again. And I was very happy to see him show up as early as he did. I don't know if he sticks around. Like, I know the first couple episodes he's there, but I don't know if he sticks around beyond this or he comes back later. I don't know, but I just loved seeing him again. And it just, so that was another bright point for me. There's one thing I do have to bring up that I didn't like, and I have a feeling I'm going to continue not to like.
Okay.
And that are the wigs. The fucking wigs in this show. Jesus Christ. Like,
there are some wigs. There's some hair pieces. There's some hair pieces.
It's like, I get it, but y'all don't have a special effects budget. Just spend it on the costuming. Get some better wigs.
I think it's meant to be period appropriate in that, because I guess it's probably possibly set early 2000s or maybe even late 90s. All right.
Yeah.
At a time when it's almost based also on the suits. Sometimes they almost have shoulder pads in the suits. It's like maybe it's considered fashionable to have a bad toupee or wigs or whatever. Yeah. So I don't even know. There's some hair pieces there.
If you start rewatching it, there's going to be a scene, and when you get to the episodes, it's beginning of episode 3. They do a flashback. They do a flashback to it's actually, I think, the first flashback to Jimmy's coming into becoming a lawyer, and it's Chuck going to see him in jail. And I do like how they do like little things to give you like we were talking about with the cars. They also, do that with other things to give you time stamps. So like in the regular timeline of the show, you're seeing flip phones everywhere. Even the lawyers have fancy flip phones, but they're flip phones. So that this is pre-smartphone era. So this is before 2008, but probably in the early 2000s, like you said. But in the flashback where Chuck goes to see him, what he's putting into the tray, so that way, because you have to put stuff when you're going to see somebody in jail, you can't take anything with you.
Right.
Well, he drops the brick phone, like one of those big,
Zach Morris.
Yeah, like one of those big ass phones. He chucks them in there. Like, we're not even talking like Nokia era. Like, we're talking like this is like mid to early 90s level.
You can call a satellite
Yeah.
under a basement.
Yeah. But Michael McKean's wig in that scene is atrocious. It is
I
like,
love it. I
oh
love it.
God, it's, like, it's
Yeah.
worse than our current president. It is so
Easy, Fred.
bad.
Easy, Fred. Words are being said out loud of your mouth.
So bad. Just
It-
it's just like this thing. Oh God. Anyway, so
It's,
okay.
it's and on that note,
On that note, on that note,
I do wish we ended every episode of every show we ever did talking about Michael McKean's wigs. I don't care why or how we have to start doing it.
yes,
From
we
now
do. We do. Okay, so all right, well that pretty much wraps up this week. So we'll be back next week with more with another thing which we'll announce then. And
Do you want to give a clue? Or I can give a clue. If you
yeah, you can give a clue because you have the thing in front of you, and I do not. And I have a shit memory, as is evidenced by the fact that I watched this week's show 4 years
Fair.
ago and didn't realize it.
Well, okay, so we'll start doing this now. Our clue corner. The clue for this next upcoming movie is, and it is a movie.
Okay.
Whoo, buddy. How to put this?
I'm intrigued.
I've got a bad feeling about this.
Oh yes. Yes. Oh yes. Well,
I'm sorry.
I don't. I have a great feeling. I think
You
it's gonna
do
be
that, you
awesome.
positive man, child. You.
All right. So okay. So I will. So yeah. On that note, we'll leave it at that, and y'all can try to figure out. In fact, if you want, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all of that. Creativity in Progress, the CIP Network, CIP
Yes,
Podcast.
yeah, give me that new Instagram.
Yeah, the new Instagram is the CIP Network, all one word. You can also find us on Twitter. It's CIP Podcasts. There's an S at the end of that. Otherwise, you get an artist, a musician. But make sure to make it plural, and you get us. And then on Facebook, just search for Creativity in Progress, and you'll find us. We post what we're doing there, so check us out there. And yeah, do you have anything to say before we wrap this puppy up?
Of course, Michael McKean hair.
Michael McKean hair. Excellent. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. And I hope y'all have a wonderful day.
Johnny Sins.